third graders. I hope you all are enjoying your week 5 of learning. Today we're going to go through actually the week 4 learning packet. Many of you picked it up from school last week or had your parents print it off, and we are just going to start going through some of the work that you will see in your learning packet. For this week, so I am, just to clarify, I'm looking at week 4, and this is where it shows you each day kind of what you are to expect to be learning. So last week, you may have learned about our unit fractions and fraction strips. It's just a review of things I had taught you earlier in the year. So let's start with day 1. So day 1, lesson 1, you will have noticed that it always starts out with a fluency. What I would like to really challenge you guys to be doing is practicing your multiplication facts and your division facts. However, today's fluency is actually having you guys really think about rounding in a way. So it's asking you to use the digits 0 through 9 to fill in the blanks to make the answer closer to 200 than to 300. So if I were to make this 400, so 400 minus 100, that would give us 300. What it's wanting you to do is to put numbers in these missing blanks, so in the 10s and the 1s, to make our answer closer to 200. Now, one of the ways you could do that is by making the 400 number, it could be 400, so 400. Now, one of the ways that you could make this 100 number is make it as close to a 200 as you possibly can. And what I mean by that is, let me just show you by marking up some of the page. Okay, so if I were to mark it up and draw on here, and I were to have 400, so 400, and then let's say I were to have 199. Okay, 199 is really, really, really close to 200, and we know that 400 minus 200 is 200. So notice how I got it as close as I possibly could without changing the 1. That is what I was asking you to do. Okay, if we move on, it's teaching you guys the very beginning lessons of fractions. Now, I know many of you have been watching my other videos which extended our thinking with fractions. This is going to take us back just to review the basic concepts of a fraction. It's going to ask you to start partitioning things into equal parts. The most important thing you need to remember with fractions is that it talks about equal parts. When we're looking at fractions, quite often you are going to see the word partition. When it talks about partition, it's asking you to remember to break things apart equally. So here it's going to ask you to read through this. I need you guys to read through these directions. It's showing you how they split things apart into equal parts. Then it's going to ask you about a beaker. And then the question is, how do we estimate the amount of water in a beaker that is 1/4? And it kind of gives you this talking bubble. And so don't ignore those. What you want to be able to do is kind of read through those and think how they're thinking. So it says, first, I need to partition my whole, so the whole beaker, into 4 equal parts. I can estimate to draw a tick mark halfway between the top and bottom of the beaker, and then make tick marks in the middle of each half. After that, I just need to shade one of the equal parts in order to make 1/4. Okay? As you continue through day 1, it's then going to ask you to try it on your own. It says draw lines to match the fraction strip with correct unit fraction. 1/2 has been done for you. So what you need to do is you need to look at A, B, C, and D, and then match it with the correct unit fraction. So it's either going to be matched to 1/4, 1/3, 1/6, or 1/2. And you can see that B was already matched to 1/2. As you keep going through, it's going to then ask you to estimate the amount of water in the beaker by shading the drawings as indicated. The first one is done for you. 1/3. For 1/3, the beaker is split into 3 equal parts with 1 part shaded. So the same thing you're going to do for either 1/2 and 1/5. You want to make sure you are breaking it apart as best as you can. Then it's going to ask you at the bottom, don't forget these questions right here, and I'm going to highlight them because quite often people read over them and then they do not answer them. It says, did you split the beaker into 2 parts for 1/2? That is a yes or no question. And then did you split the beaker into 5 equal parts for 1/5? And that is a yes or no question. Those are just to check, did you do what you were supposed to do in the directions? Make sure you're really paying attention to the word equal parts. I'm going to go back up here just really quick. Notice how for the third, they really try their best to do equal parts, as well as our fraction strips up here. Try your best, and if you see that something is significantly smaller or bigger than another part, just erase it and try again. So then as you continue through day 1 of week 4, you then are going to have a problem set. Read each part of the questions carefully. It is really important for us to be reading through these questions and answering all parts of the question. So number 1 says, a beaker is considered full when the liquid reaches the fill line shown near the top. Estimate the amount of water in the beaker by shading the drawing as indicated. The first one is done for you. So this is a repeat of what you had just done above. For 2A, it says in the space below, draw a rectangle. Estimate to split it into 2 equal parts. How many equal parts? 2 equal parts. Then it's asking you, how many lines did you draw to make 2 equal parts? What is the name of each fractional unit? So you are needing to do 3 different things. Not only are you drawing a rectangle and splitting it into 2 equal parts, you then need to answer these 2 questions. Part B says draw another small rectangle. Estimate to split it into 3 equal parts. How many lines did you draw to make 3 equal parts? And what is the name of each fractional unit? When we do 3 equal parts, we know that our unit is going to be a third, 1/3. 3/3 or 3 1/3 equal up a whole of 3 equal parts. So we need to make sure you have 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 is how you're going to label each part. Okay, number 3 then asks you, a plumber has 12 feet of pipe. He cuts it into pieces that are each 3 feet in length. What fraction of the pipe would 1 piece represent? And draw a fraction strip to help you. So you're going to know that the total length of this pipe is 12 feet. If he's cutting each section into 3 feet, that means he's dividing it equally into sections of 3 feet. We can actually use our division skills to figure out what fraction of the pipe would 1 piece represent. I am going to see if I can mark up and show you exactly what I mean by that. And so if you are to draw your fraction line, okay, and then it says he cuts it into pieces that are each 3 feet in length. Now we know that this is a total of 12, right? So it's 12. And I already had told you we can use our division scales. So it doesn't look like it's going to let me write that in there. So 12 divided by 3 is going to be 4. So what fraction of the pipe would one piece represent? And if we do it, and if there's 4 equal pieces, what do you think it'll be? If you said fourths, then you got it right. And I want to make sure you're drawing the pipe. It says draw a fraction strip to help you. Draw a line to represent the pipe, or you could even draw a whole fraction rectangle. And that is all I need you to be doing for day 1 of week 4. As you continue to work through it, make sure you put a star or highlight maybe a question that you don't know. So let's say I am having a hard time with question 3. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to circle it. And then you can ask me during our office hours. You got this, 3rd grade. You're doing a great job.